The 2008 Beijing Olympics was a defining event for China. The event was used to project modern China on the backdrop of historical China. The traditional and modern Chinese architectural plan used the open spaces with certain effects. Take the example of the site of huge Yandi and Huandi statues, which was opened in 2007. The 106-meter tall sculptures of Yangtze and Huangdi, the father figures of Chinese culture, are semi-mystical characters of Chinese history. The head sculptures are on the banks of Yellow River in Zhangjiajie, Henan province. Notice the use of the open spaces to emphasize the majesty of the sculpture. The same idea is seen in the 2008 Olympics village in Beijing. It is surprising how a plain, vast, uncluttered space can be awe-inspiring, at the same time functional to handle large crowds. The space is created over a major arterial highway. This space provides connectivity to the Olympic Village, the major stadia, the nest and the water cube, and the transport hub for the spectators. China took the Olympics Games opportunity to showcase the decades of economic progress, resulting in higher living standards and rising skyline. This is the skyline of Shanghai, which has become a role model for Mumbai. The economic growth rate was fueled by excellent infrastructure, development of network of high-speed trains and world-class highways. The rail and road connectivity also provided mobility to the emerging upper middle class and access to recreational areas. The mystical heavenly gate of the Tiananmen Mountain is in fact remains of a collapsed cave. The Tiananmen Mountain rises from the plains of Zhangjiajie to a height of 4,500 feet. To reach the heavenly gate, you may take a mountain road of 11 kilometers with 99 bends and coiled like a snake, and then take a flight of steps, or take a 7.5-kilometer long cable car and then take a cliff walk. The Tiananmen Mountain is associated with many mystical stories. From the mountain top, a flight of 7 escalators through a slanting tunnel takes you to the back of the Tiananmen cave. There is a small shrine from Tang Dynasty. Here, people literally lock their wishes to be granted. The hole in the mountain, the heavenly gate, is 130 meters high, 30 meters wide, and 60 meters deep. The mountainous area of Zhangjiajie is a home for many ethnic minority communities of China. We visited the ancient town of Fenghuang of Mao and Tujia communities. The fortified town was occupied by the ruling Han community. The Mio and Tuzia lived outside the town walls. The river Tujian flows through the town. The town is being redeveloped as a tourist destination for the modern city dwellers to experience the life and charm of the old Chinese town. To make the experience more desirable, at night, the slow drab town of the day transforms itself into a swinging place with bars and music houses with old architectural charm. The Zhangjiajie National Park is the first national park of China. It was established in 1982. The park is a part of Wuliguan Scenic Area. In 2004, UNESCO has declared it as a global geopark. The sandstone peak and pillar forest is unique. The pillars look like karst, a limestone formation, a result of chemical reaction with water. But in Zhangjiajie, the process is different. Throughout the year, the weather in this region is moist and misty, which encourages the growth of vegetation. Through the macro fissures in the sandstone, the roots of the trees take hold of the rock. In winter, the water which has seeped into the macro cracks freezes. It expands and puts pressure on the rock. The fissures develop into cracks, allowing further penetration of the roots. Ultimately, the rock splits. This process has continued for 380 million years. The result is this forest of sandstone pillars. The density of these pillars is unique in the world. This challenging region has been home of many ethnic tribes and a preferred place of reclusive monks. Chang Liang is a historical figure from 3rd century BC. He played an important role as an advisor to Lu Bang in the struggle to establish Han dynasty. In later period of his reclusive life, he preferred Zhangjiajie. To appreciate the rugged beauty, one has to take to higher elevation and see from a distance. Yujianxie on the Tanzi mountain top and Hongxi are such places. Hongxi village, that is Yellow Lion village, is on the top of a mountain plateau. No one lives there. Actually, the various rock pillars are given names, and they are the residents of this village. A cable ride takes you to the village. The presence of cable cars, fast lifts, good roads and protected trails in the park has provided excellent accessibility. This has led to the crowding and over-commercialization of the area. One has to jostle with other tourists to find an ideal spot for a picture.
好，开镜头啊，图中间进过来一点，大哥，哎，好，来手这样张开来一个啊，手高点啊，来一啊。
The casualty is serenity, usually associated with such places. In the haste of modernization, China has given scant regards to environment. The Honglong Cave development for tourism is an example of it. The cave was discovered in 1983. It is 7.5 kilometers in length in 4 levels, has 2 underground rivers with waterfalls. In providing access to the cave to the millions of people, part of the cave is damaged and the whole environment of the cave is destroyed permanently. In the cities, sometimes the development has resulted in a ghost forest of high-rise buildings, which are not occupied for years or left unfinished. In the process of rapid urbanization, there was some forced migration to the cities. Wushan was once prosperous town. It was on the trading route of Grand Canal. The 1800 kilometer navigational canal construction work was started in 5th century BC. The monumental project took 1000 years to complete. It runs from Beijing to Hangzhou and connects four rivers including Yellow River and Yangtze. Wushan and other old towns on the canal were abandoned and became ghost towns. They are being redeveloped as tourist destinations. After the Cultural Revolution of 60s, the emerging middle class is re-exploring their cultural roots and the old way of living. This interest in old style is seen in many places, including in Shaoxing and Nanjing. In some cases, old buildings are renovated or new buildings are constructed in old style in a old town layout. China's number one position in population and its population density is seen when you travel through China. Even the excellent infrastructure like the Beijing West railway station may be felt inadequate for the hordes of migratory workforce. This is the picture of Hangzhou railway station when the city was vacated for the recent G20 summit. The region suffers from worst type of air pollution, the result of the concentration of textile factories. 50% of the world textile comes from this region. Hangzhou records on an average 200 days of smog. Beijing also suffered worst kind of air pollution before the 2008 Olympics. That time, all factories in this area were closed. Large population left the city and restrictions were placed on private vehicles. Same measures were adopted for Hangzhou after 8 years for the recent G20 summit. After 10 days of closure of all factories, this is the haze in Shaoxing. China is enthusiastic on Paris Agreement on climate change. Hopefully, the environmental issues will be focused in coming years.
的梅花满天下，越冷它越开花。
Our guide for Nansing, Jimmy, sporting the badge of National Party, founded by Dr. Sangat Sen, summed up the general feeling of common citizens. Quoting Confucius, he said, "One must have self-respect and pride in nation. That we have. The second factor of adequate wealth for good living. That also we have. And the third factor of civil rights. I would not say we don't have, but there is still long way to go. A really very long way to go."